Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a subject we've touched before, but never really dove into cars. We talked about buying new, buying used, and the advantages and so on, but also the fact that it's a depreciating asset and it's not a great investment. But what I didn't really talk about before was how much car can you afford? How do you determine how much car can you pay for? And most people, which probably won't surprise anyone, but most people overpay for their cars. Actually, it's one of 3 or 4 things that everybody overpays for. That, vacations, their wedding. I can't remember what the fourth one was, but we typically overpay for a bunch of reasons. A lot of them have to do with the sales tactics at the dealerships, but we also tend to want to buy, our dream car, our nice cars. I have done numerous amounts of stupid things with the cars that I've bought. To give you ideas, and I'll try to dig up photos here and maybe post them up, but one was a 1986 Iltis that I bought. It was probably 25 or 30 years old. I even drove it in the winter. It was brutal. I had a 66 Mustang at some point. I had a Land Rover Defender 110 that was imported from Germany. Basically, that's the blueprint of what not to do with your cars. I've learned since then, but a lot of money went to those vehicles. Most of them were broken or were not running portions of the time. Parts were tricky to get a hold of, and I did a lot of maintenance myself, and yes, I enjoyed them while I had them, but at the same time, I'd be better off financially if I hadn't bought those vehicles. So, how much car can you afford is directly linked to a few other things. How much you're going to pay on insurance, mileage per gallon. Obviously, if you're driving a Humvee versus a Prius, you're going to pay more for gas. How much mileage you're actually going to do. If you don't drive too much, that might not be a big deal. And then obviously the maintenance costs. So, import cars, the German-made stuff, Japanese stuff, especially if you're past the warranty or you're just buying consumables like brakes and stuff, they get a lot more expensive than when you're buying on our side of the pond. But typically, the average payment right now in North America is $800, which is high. And I didn't know that it was high until I started doing a bit of research. But I found out that the typical or the best way to figure out how much money you should pay on a car is the 23-8 rule. Okay, 20-3-8. So you should put 20% down. You should finance the rest over 3 years, no more than 36 months. And it shouldn't be, the portion you finance shouldn't be more than 8% of your pre-tax take-home. When you think about it, that's not a lot. That means if you make $100,000, you're allowed to finance 8% of that, so 8,000 out of 100,000. You're going to put 20% down, so that's, call it 1,800, let's say. So that's a $9,800 vehicle. That's actually pretty low. If you shop cars that way, you're looking at cars probably 7-ish years old, depending on what you're buying. You're going to struggle, and the mileage should be pretty high. You're going to mostly be approaching the 100,000 miles or 160,000 kilometers if you're in Canada and using the metric system. Second option is the 20-4-10. So same principle, you're going to put 20% down. You're going to finance for 48 months or 4 years, and you're allowed to go to 10% of your pre-tax take-home pay. So it's better. Still not very high though. 10% of 100,000 is 10,000. 20% of that is 2, so that's a $12,000 vehicle that you could buy and finance. So I never said you'd be happy listening to this information. The third way to do it, which is Dave Ramsey's way, is the car you can afford is the car you can pay for outright. The end. Which is also interesting. But given that, a lot of fairly rich people abide by these sets of rules, I thought it was very interesting to look at myself and literally everyone around me at how we're buying cars and how we're definitely overpaying given our salary points or salary brackets. And yeah, so here's another interesting tidbit. The average millionaire has a 4-year-old car with 41,000 miles on it. That means, it's the average. There's a lot of people or a lot of millionaires with older cars with more mileage, but there are also some with newer cars and less mileage. But that's an interesting statistic. You would think people who have a lot of money have new cars all the time. And I think a lot of people play the pretend game. We don't have that much money, but we trade our cars in fairly regularly. We lease them and flip them they're not even old yet. The same car hasn't had a facelift at the manufacturer yet, and we're trading them in, which is pretty crazy. So if you look at that, basically, you need to either trim down your expectations of your vehicle or significantly increase your earnings, or save up and buy whatever car it is that you like outright. Flip side of this, what's happening to most people, because we go to dealerships and we finance our cars. Now, the dealership looks at your take home every month, and then they do a debt ratio analysis, and they see it as safe to lend you, so long as they're not lending you more than 45% into debt for your car. So let's make this a round number. Let's say you make $10,000 a month. For whatever reason, that'd be $120,000 a year. They deduct your rent off of that. So let's scrub, $2,000. We're down to $8,000. Let's say you have, student loan or something, $500, some sort of loan. Student loan would be high at $500, but anyway, another $500. So you're down to $7,500. And then let's say you have a credit card of also $500 that you pay every month. You're down to $7,000 in income for your debt. So they will go, oh, okay, you can afford a payment of, in this case, probably $3,200. I don't have a calculator, so please don't quote these numbers. I'm just throwing them out there. That's a very large amount. So now, yeah, you make $100,000 a year. You're doing okay. If you're buying that car, you're definitely a Henry. Go see that video. But here's the thing. They don't really care. They'll put you in whatever car you want. They'll put you in a $300,000 car because what they're going to do is they're going to create the payment that fits. And they will put it on 84 months and be like, here you go. Here's your dream car. You're paying, or your payment is below the threshold that we can approve for our guidelines, safety, creditor stuff. And go out there, be happy. So on 84 months, you're going to own that car for longer than most people. The average car ownership is, I think, 79 months. You're going to be in an inverse relationship with this car, considering its debt and its value, for probably the first 3 or 4 years, because the 50% or so depreciation that happens over the first 2 years, probably 18 months, you won't have paid 50% by then. So you will owe a lot more than what the car's residual value is. And by the time those two numbers match up, you're probably in the 7th years. And I'm sorry, I think I said 8 years on 84 months, 7 years, 84 months. You're probably, they're going to meet right at the bottom. As soon as you pay it off, it's like, okay, yeah, but there you go. Or the last year you owe what it's worth, the last $10,000 or whatever, which is brutal. I see people financing Jeeps for 72 months right now. Nothing against Jeeps. I've had one. I love them. I think they're great, especially the old ones. But they're not the most reliable car. They don't have great mileage per gallon. I mean, the new ones might be better, but nothing about it makes it an efficient or sound choice. And then to finance it for that long, considering it's a Chrysler, not a big fan of their reliability status or manufacturing standards. This is all bad stuff. So take care if you're going to a dealership and you're gonna, whether you put money down or don't put money down, what they're gonna match you with is a payment that works for your debt ratio. That's all they're gonna do. They're not necessarily gonna give you a good deal, or they might look like a good deal. Oh, we're only paying $700 a month for 7 years. It's terrible. So anyway, that's what takes place. This is how you figure out how much car you can buy. Sadly, most of us should be looking at the used market and paying 10, 12,000, driving it until it's either no longer viable or would cost more to fix it than the car cost us in the first place, and then treat it as a disposable asset because it's an incredibly depreciating asset. So why lock up a whole bunch of money in there? I forgot to mention, I built a Excel or Google spreadsheet to help you guys figure this out, so you don't have to memorize the math that I said in the video and try to recreate it. I built a spreadsheet, and you just have to plug in your income and all the numbers will come out. So if you want to play around, figure out what you could possibly afford, and please go ahead and the link is in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. This one was a bit longer than usual, but please subscribe. Thank you.